Okay, welcome everybody. So today we actually have a game from the Amateur League. You might remember Heroes Launch that we talked about last season already, and they just started their first season today. And I'm going to cast a match from their first division, and it's mYinsanity. We're going to talk about that in a second, going up against CoB Misclick, and our first map is Infernal Shrines. Now, heroeslaunch.gg, you can check out the website there. There should be a link in the description as well, but basically it's a league where everybody can participate. Doesn't matter if you're Platinum, Silver, Gold, Diamond, if you're Grandmaster, everybody can play in there. You can either play as an individual player with another free Asian team, or you can just simply play with a full team here. It seems that the draft is actually a little bit lagging here, but so far I think we're still totally committed to the draft. We have a Kerrigan band first of all on Infernal Shrines and Sylvanas. mYinsanity, you might remember that Misfits were the former mYinsanity team. Misfits, or the old mYinsanity team, moved over to Misfits, a different organization, but mYinsanity still had an amateur team that was a full female team. Now 2 of those left, and by now we have 3 girls and 2 guys like making up the real mYinsanity team right now, and they participate in Heroes Launch as well as an amateur team, and we're going to cast those guys today, on girls. So Sylvanas banned out first of all. Infernal Shrines, of course, a map where you can snowball quite heavily if you get the access to the Punishers, if you can use those. And at this point, basically, we have a start with Malfurion and we have an ETC there. Now, the draft itself has a couple of problems. It could be that we're actually getting a bit of a restart, but we will find out soon enough. No, okay. Yeah, so you see that the entire draft is just sporadically coming into place. Apparently the website is a bit laggy. Seems like for the draft, thus it still works. So when we're talking a bit about the setup here, we're having for mYinsanity, first of all, they go into Malfurion and Vala. Now Malfurion, of course, with the cooldown reduction and with the mana, can help out Vala quite a bit. He's one of the best, if not the best support that we have these days. Pretty versatile with him using Tranquility or Twilight Dream, depending on the situation. As a heroic, Vala on this map, of course, gets a bit of traction because you can just simply spam out her multi-shot and get minions during the fights over the shrines. And for CoB Misclick, we actually have ETC. One of the best tanks in the game at this point. Stage Dive is starting to become a much bigger deal right now. Mosh Pit is still played occasionally, but Stage Dive is the more popular talent to take on 10. Tychus as a tank melter is basically part of every single high-level draft that you see these days, because the guy just shreds tanks. The grenade alone is already great to also just poke from a distance. You get good poke against the minions on the shrines too. And Thrall is one of the best solo laners and just a good frontliner. In general, when we're talking about drafting, what you see most of these days is a double frontline, double backline damage, and 1 healer. And the double frontline can either be a double tank, or you have a tank and then a melee assassin, which is what we're seeing for Misclick right now. They have ETC as the main tank, but Thrall still can help him peel a little bit, and is in a position where he can also, with Earthquake, of course, dominate the fights around the shrines quite a lot. mYinsanity in this case go for a bit of an old school strategy that just recently appeared again in the Chinese region when we were looking at the Chinese tournament. We have Sonya now, and together with the Sonya, they're thinking about a Tacita, which I think would actually be a really good addition here for them. The reason being that if you play Sonya, normally a lot of the focus is on her. So most of the traditional Sonya compositions had a double support behind them with the Tacita, back then with the Rhaegar. Right now we have Malfurion and Tacita, just trying to make sure that Sonya has the sustain that she needs on the shrine fight itself, and can then run with that. For CoB Misclick, when it comes now to healers, they can either go into a Rhaegar or they can go for the Oriel here, depending on what additional damage dealer they want to add. We could see a false set on their side. Li Ming is also still around, so if they try to build up a bit of momentum and getting the resets through kills for them, that would be, of course, a bit of an advantage going into this. Li Ming is oftentimes said not really being the strongest hero in Infernal Shrines towards the objective, since a lot of the shots that you are trying to fire through the entire fights over the shrines are being blocked by minions, but she can still be quite powerful, so it depends how you use the hero. I feel at some point us talking about the disadvantages of Li Ming on Infernal Shrines translated for a lot of people into Li Ming is bad on Infernal Shrines, which is definitely not the case. It's just that you might not be able to get that poke value out of her on Infernal Shrines that you oftentimes get on a map like, let's say, Battlefield of Eternity. But CoB Misclick for now actually goes for the Oriel. that was kind of expected. And they seem to go for Zarya here. Now that gives them a ton of sustain over the shrine fights themselves. Damage output is a bit of a different question. They don't have a lot of poke with that, so Tychus is going to be their main range damage. Zarya herself, of course, can also dish out a lot of damage. The particle grenade is great, and I actually think this is a setup that is really tough to break for mYinsanity, also because you have a lot of ults that you can synergize with. Thrall going into... I mean, you don't necessarily have to go for Expulsion Zone with Zarya, even though it is like the most common heroic ability with her, but right now you definitely have a couple of options. mYinsanity going for the Tyrael with this. Now this is going to be interesting because they are a little bit on the weaker side when it comes to the hit point pool. The double support can help them here, but they are now running a double support and basically double frontline combo with only one damage dealer in the back. Sonya has a fair amount of single target damage, so that can definitely work. Tassadar has AoE that he can use. I'm just a bit worried because I'm not sure if Tyrael can really provide enough to make that work. But we're going to jump into the game. You hear the countdown already behind me, so we're going to go into game number 1. Infernal Shrines, mYinsanity going up versus CoB Misclick. Alright everybody, game number 1 at Heroes Launch, and we have, to the left side, mYinsanity with Snowhomes on Tyrael, Nephi on Malfurion, and Jenna is playing the Sonya. Nera on Tassadar, and Kitara is playing the damage dealer from the backline here with her Vala. To the right side, on the other hand, we have CoB Misclick here at heroeslaunch.gg, Gwels on Oriel, Shy on Thrall, Skyrunner on Tychus, Tapion on Zarya, and Toast Mid-Or on ETC. Now, that's German, and it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Just wanted to throw that out here so that you guys know that as well. So apparently we have a bit of minion blocking going on the side of mYinsanity. I want to point out again that everybody who wants can participate at heroeslaunch.gg. It does really not matter what kind of skill level you're at. We're currently looking at games that are being played in Division 1, but even here we have in a lot of these teams gold players or silver players that are playing. So it doesn't matter if you are not on a Grandmaster level. You can either participate as an individual player or you can participate with your entire team. So definitely make sure that you head over to heroeslaunch.gg, check the website out, have a look at that. They have a Discord channel as well where there's like a couple of hundred people in there. So if you're looking for scrims, if you're looking for other teams, if you want to join a team, just go to heroeslaunch.gg, scroll down all the way to the bottom and you'll find the Discord and you can just head over there, chat with people about it. But for now, in our first match, it also kicks Season 2 off. We have, in terms of like the talents on level 1, as already in most cases, the Demolitions expert on Zarya. So she is actually going to try and just simply go for as much of poke damage as she can with a particle grenade. It's one of the best things that you can do with her. And the teams, as you might have already seen on the minimap, are basically going for a pretty common split with 4 heroes roaming between the middle and the bot lane, and up to the top you're seeing the solo lane with Jenna on her Sonya going up against good old Thrall. And Thrall is so far giving her a pretty rough time, especially since he's starting to control the health globes here. So as long as he continues to do that and denies them to Sonya, it's going to be pretty rough. She's already tapping her fountain, so in this case she needs to be a bit careful here. Shy is doing very well. He's running a bit out of mana, but he is controlling the globe still, and that's a bit of an advantage for them for sure. The rotation down at the bottom has been a little bit given up right now. It's mostly like one hero against another in the mid lane, and then 3 heroes just like trying to rotate a bit. But the first shrine is now about to be active, and the teams are of course trying to get the level 4 talent, so just in time. In terms of adjustments, we have Shandor's Clarity taken as level 1 on Malfurion. I would have expected the Moonburn because it's like the more common talent to take on her, on the Malfurion, but overall still fine. Level 4 talents kicking in, but at this point already the fight happening, so we're going to come back to that. Thrall with a bit of an alternative build by them. Not going for the full Chain Lightning, but going block on 1 and also adding in Venom later. In the early game, that oftentimes gives you a bit of an advantage. And there we already go. Yep, that's a bit of a problem. Snowhomes jumps in. Jen, on the other hand, gets a shield from Nera is Tasta, and just the last moment, and a good route against Skyrunner on the Tychus prevents the grenade to being dropped once the cooldown is ready again. But you can see that with all the sustain that we mentioned during the draft, it's very rough for mYinsanity. You make the move onto the temple right now, onto the shrine, and get those stacks. They are a little bit behind, and especially Tyrael is once again in trouble here. Of course, Nera is still waiting for his level 7 when he can pre-shield everybody with Tassadar. That's going to help a lot to have that sustain time on the shrines. But right now, they are struggling here a bit. Kitara also needs to be super careful as the only damage dealer. She should really try and stay behind the tanks, but Then just now making their way in the shrine, and maybe they have a chance to still go for that Punisher. Right now it actually looks like they might well get it. Kitara on the other hand is not allowed to die for this. She needs to really get those multi-shots in time. Tyrael is down. A good explosion on the other hand could really turn the tides of the battle over the Punisher. 37-8, they just need 2 more, and that should be an easy thing. And here we go. Alright, a last Moonfire gets at least the Punisher for them, but they not only suffer the death of Tychus, they're also running pretty low on the rest of the team. So the Punisher is not really going to do a whole lot, but they were able to lock it in, and that's the most important part right now. Because with that, they at least are not going to lose out on it, and especially with it being an Arcane Punisher, that could have hurt a lot. So they're probably going to be able to just at least take down a tower, maybe a little bit more than that. But besides that, there shouldn't really be too much more that they can do with it. So the wall isn't even destroyed, they're still trying to poke away a bit with currently Tassadar and Tyrael. Nikki comes in on the Malfurion too, but at least the towers have been drained, so those are going to fall eventually. The rest of the team already rotated back onto the lanes to soak the experience. Especially in the early game is of course quite important that you don't lose out on too much on that. The bigger they are already taken for Tychus, and that is going to put more pressure onto the tanks for sure. Okay, sliding into the wave, dropping the cooldown there right away. We're seeing the focus attack as a level 4 talent for Sonya, and again of course punishment for Vala. If you're playing on Infernal Shrines with Vala, you definitely want to go for multi-shot build, at least with a level 4 talent. Normally you will see also Arsenal being picked up on level 7, but the level 4 is kind of mandatory for nearly every build that you see these days. I would say the only real exception is if you are playing on Battlefield of Eternity, that you can go into a full arrow build, but overall, going for punishment, it's one of your most important talents to take on Vala, and I've seen very few players that actually don't go for it. In this case, Kitara actually decides to go for the Death Dealer regardless. This is like a hybrid build that we are seeing these days. I could have still seen them pick up Arsenal just to get a bit more control over the shrines, but the Death Dealer in general is helping you out in the team fights a bit more. The one thing that I really ask of everybody that is watching right now that likes Vala, do me a favor and don't take that shitty auto attack talent on level 1 because, on level 4, because it's just total trash. Basically, the talent bumps you complete is actually fine, and there's a couple of instances where you might even be able to get away with it, but it's kind of mind-blowing how often you see that taken in Hero League or in Unranked Draft these days, and the talent leaves your team hanging completely, especially on a map that is focused on wave clear, which is, for example, Brax's Holdout, which is to a certain extent also Infernal Shrines, but even more so a map like Tomb of the Spider Queen. And it's a bit mind-blowing to see how many Vala players are trying to pick that up these days because they want to be that auto-attack monster with Manticore and Rancor later on 20, and they're like, oh my god, but if I make it to 20, I can kill people so easily. Yeah, problem with that is usually don't make it to 20 with that talent if you're playing away from it. So, just throwing that out there, the build that is played here by Vala is still very much standard, very strong, and especially Tassadar on 7, of course, is now finally Kala's embrace that he can finally play here and pre-shield everybody, which is currently exactly what he's trying to do. Thrall with an adaptment here, Wind Shear taken, so reducing the cooldown instead of simply going for the focused attack. Another interesting adaptation, but Jenna is in trouble, barely getting out. ETC stayed a bit too long though, trying to confirm the kill on Sonya, but Tassadar prevented that with a quick shield. And now ETC down means that we have a 5 versus 4 in favor of mYinsanity, and they are actually starting to once again make a play for the Punisher and looking strong with it. Quells with the detainment strike, make sure that Snow Holmes can't follow it up for a second kill. Jenna still very low, gets healed by Malfurion again, but they should move back and try to tap the fountain here. ETC is also on the way. They have a solid lead right now when it comes to the minions, but they still need to make sure that they're not losing heroes here. And ETC comes back, so making another play for those last few remaining minions to get another Punisher would be perfect here. So once again, they're starting to move in once more, and yeah, Skyrunner in the back line with another great grenade here against 3, 35, 36 stacks. Snow Holmes, if he goes down, they could at least try to use the explosion to pick up a few additional minions. But so far, it looks like Jenna is going to do that with a whirlwind here on Sonya. Locking those down, and this is really the time for Misclick to disengage, because that Punisher is going to jump soon, and if it jumps in front of the wall, they would be a bit of trouble. But they do it actually pretty well, so they move back, and the grenade shot by Zarya to bait him over the wall. So once again, this is basically like Infernal Shrines 101, that's the ABC on the map. If you lose the Punisher, move behind the wall, don't leave anybody in front of the wall, attack the Punisher once from behind the wall so that it actually gets triggered, the jump, focusing to jump over the wall, and then you normally lose a bit less. But the aggression that we're currently seeing with the level 10 ability that mYinsanity already picked up allows them, of course, easily still to take down the fort here. Level 10 versus level 9 misclicks, they do the only thing that they can really do. They move back immediately. They have to do that, but at the same time now we are seeing still a bit of a play being made here for the camp, and it could actually lead to a kill against Thrall. But the fourth ward is a tiny bit too late, and therefore they're not getting that just yet. Gimme 20, by the way, has been taken on Zarya. We've probably already seen that down to the bottom here. The builds that we have also feature the Earthquake right now. That talent, of course, gives quite a bit of control over the shrine. We're having the Expulsion Zone still taken here, which is actually interesting. With the setup that they have, I could have totally seen them go for the other heroic ability and not for the Expulsion Zone. They have to at least coordinate that properly, though. Expulsion Zone can be great here if you want to isolate someone, as long as they don't have a situation in which Thrall drops the Earthquake and then Zarya panic buttons and pushes people away. That would be a little bit less fun. But right now, ETC hasn't really made a choice yet, could still go for the stage dive here. When it comes to the builds overall, I really feel that mainly Thrall is someone who went for very different talents that you would normally expect. We don't see that Chain Lightning focus on level 1 and level 4, and on level 7, if you go for that, it's usually just focus attack, so that you have a bit more damage in. Sorry, the follow-through, of course, not the focus attack. Follow-through has also been taken by Sonya, which is actually interesting, because that turns Sonya into a damage machine, but at the same time, it's a bit of a problem with the sustainability, so she doesn't really have the Ferocious Healing as an option to gain a bit of hit points back. You don't see that too often. The Wrath of the Berserker at least gives her a bit more survivability in that context, but as the only tank next to Tyrael, or the only melee hero next to Tyrael, that's still a pretty solid adjustment to the build. Basically it just says, hey, we have 2 supports, we need a bit more damage, and that's why Sonya just decides, okay, I need to do something, I give up some of my survivability, some of my sustainability during the fight, and instead go for follow through as a damage tool so that we can push a bit more in there. And against a single target, that can really make all the difference. ETC is very likely to go actually in the mosh pit with this, since he has still not taken. We see him already in the fight and not at the top. Mosh pit has now been selected, and with Odin, the immediate retreat on the side of mYinsanity. I actually like that. Fighting into the Odin is always very tricky. You need to be extremely careful with that. So they actually move back for now. They just regroup and then move in again. And that's where we have Snowholmes jumping in deep. Immediately they go for Thrall. The Earthquake already on the ground. Kitara a bit too far out, gets punished for it immediately. Taken down. Tried to go in from the side, had no tank to shield her, and that turns it into a 4 versus 5. Force wall covering the retreat, but this is looking more and more like it's going to be the first Punisher on the side of CoB misclick. So we are still seeing a bit of a play from a distance, trying to see maybe if they can drop Storm. Nope. They're just going to accept this one. So the Punisher has been taken. They are still ahead in experience and are likely to pick up level 13 so that they can use it for the defense here. We have already Snowholmes with Runes here in the back trying to bait it over and jump away. Jump triggered a little bit too late on Tyrael. I actually think that the sword already, that the duration was already over, so that he mistimed that slightly. But they still baited over the wall and can now continue to just burst it down as fast as possible. But we already see that Thrall is starting to move into the middle. So Mystics are just like, they are just poking a bit. They are not really getting too much done here. They have their own level 13 talent. They got the wall. That's all that they really needed in this instance. Seeing actually a pretty kill-poor game so far. We have 2 kills against 1. A bit of a fight over the camp down to the bot lane. But of course, right now the red team isn't really making a huge play for it, since they have Thrall covering the top lane, pushing that out. Shrink Ray on Malfurion this time. Not going for the Ice Block here. There's no stage dive on ETC, so you don't necessarily need it anyways, as long as you position yourself well. The Tempered by Discipline for Vala, and we're having now the Prescience taken, which is going to make the survivability of Tassadar a bit easier. In terms of talents, the Blinding Flash, it's basically a full Sacred Sweep build that we are seeing on the side of Auriel. And Auriel has been played in a couple of different ways lately. You have, of course, the full focus on the heals with cooldown reduction and everything, but in this setup it's more about having the displacements, the radius, and increasing the speed of Sacred Sweep. We're also seeing the endurance training now taken for Zarya. By the way, level 7 was the pinpoint accuracy. When you see the focus on the level 1 Demolitions Expert with a particle grenade, and normally level 7 follows suit as well. But both of the teams with pretty solid setups thus far, and you can actually tell that the first map in this best of 3 series here at heroeslaunch.gg is pretty even, up to the point where Thrall dies at the top lane, spammed out the Earthquake and was trying to save himself with that. Now, wasting the cooldown here is not too big of a deal because Earthquake has a very short cooldown, it's just a minute. That might sound like much, but it's actually like, it's basically always present for you. The problem more is that the camps are getting stolen away, so those camps are going to push in. Would have been a bit more effective if it was in a different lane, but it looks like, yes, Mistling is going to make a play for the bot fort instead right now. So a bit late on the rotation towards the shrine, but they have to wait for Thrall anyways. That gives them a bit of an experience lead, at least for now, and they have a camp also pushing through the middle. So a bit of value was gotten up at the top, where now mYinsanity was making a play for the wall. I was trying to pressure that, but they are now also just in time on the shrine. They can get a bit of a lead, but they will have to fight for that one way or another. And this camp in the mid lane is still pressuring it. So ammunition is already heavily drained on those structures, as we now see the fight start up to the top. And this is all about the setup again. Shy is very deep for this one. Needs to be extremely careful. Yeah, ETC is looking for that mosh pit. Strafe already used in the back line. Malfurion with the ult. The Twilight Dream is out, but Odin is firing away from the back, and a lot of the ults are still available. Whereas the Earthquake should be used, got interrupted. Thrall not able to use it for another 5 seconds. Good route by Malfurion. ETC slides in, has no mosh pit. That got interrupted too. Earthquake can be used right now, and Thrall is dropping it immediately. The death of Tyrael and Sonya is putting a lot of pressure onto mYinsanity now. Tapio nearly falling on Zarya, but able to survive, and especially Thrall dropping that last moment Earthquake in there too. Helped them, of course, a lot to safely force everyone back here. Grab the level 16 talent and make the play for the Punisher. The fight did actually start out quite well. They interrupt against the mosh pit and then also interrupting Thrall when he was attempting to drop his Earthquake. That helped them. But we still saw a lot of pressure on Vala in particular, and Sonya never really even got the chance to have a huge impact in that fight. So 16 talents with the Tempest Fury after the Grace of Air. Basically a full play with the Wind Fury here is making that pretty dangerous. That Thrall is hitting very, very hard right now. They have even the 20% attack, the 20% attack speed upgrade, a bait of the Punisher into the backline, trying to take him down by mYinsanity. You have 16 now as well with the Holy Ground. So now Tyrael can make a couple of plays with his placement here. Jenna again in trouble. Earthquake being used. Nice Detainment Strike into the corner, interrupting the Whirlwind. Sanctification is on the ground, but Kitara is nearly falling. The Punisher about to take her apart. They're trying to turn her around again. Still a 5 versus 5. They need to give up the fort here. Everybody is super low, but somehow mYinsanity managed to stay alive. Snowhomes with the Sanctification here, definitely saving his team. And Kitara was so close to being taken out by the Punisher himself. That was just a split second before the next round of frozen ground ice thingies would have taken her apart. So they lose a fort, but they are still in the game. A level behind though, so bot lane is another point of pressure against the red team. They need to defend, and this is exactly what they are starting to do now. But overall, as you can tell, we have the Seething Hatred now taken as well after Tempered by Discipline. Now that's one of those talents where you have, this is really an auto-attack heavy focus that we're seeing from Vala. Especially on this map, I could have seen her go for the Frost Shot. We've been talking about a few of the alternate talents that you can take earlier on, but I think Frost Shot would have been really great on this map in particular. Also, of course, with the punishment. Play for the Shine again. Oh, Jenna is in trouble here. Nera already on this Tassadar moving out as well. I actually don't understand why Tassadar why Thrall didn't drop the Earthquake. I really think he should have just Earthquaked here. I'm pretty sure they would have at least gotten the kill against Sonya. So, in my personal opinion, a bit of a misplay there. Maybe didn't really believe that they could follow it up, but that 1 minute cooldown is absolutely nothing. So, getting the kill against Sonya in that case would have helped them a lot. So, hindsight, I mean, it's always 20/20, but in this case, a quick Earthquake would have probably sealed the deal on Sonya and turned it into a pretty advantageous situation for them. We're seeing besides that now also the imposing presence. Tenacious Roots have been picked up by Malfurion too, who also went into the cleanse here. But the teams are obviously now starting to make a play for level 20. But before that is going to be an issue, we will definitely see another Punisher on the map. And that's where both of the teams are going to make a pretty big stand. Since his even talents, it's only 4 kills against 2, so a pretty cautious game on both sides. We haven't seen a keep fall yet, but the next Punisher is very likely to drop one. And it drops at the bot lane. So both of the teams still have... Well, actually, only one of the teams still has the Fountain ready. It's a bit of a advantageous position for the red team right now. Actually, with this point, when they see the camp taken, they should really think about maybe rotating someone down and just drop that real quickly. That's basically a Storm, that's basically just Vala making a quick play for it, but they want to take the lead with the minions. Now it comes down to how Misclicks play this, because right now, if they wanted to, they can just go into the battle and go back to the Fountain, tap real quickly if need be. And already Odin is being popped here, so they're starting to make their stand here. Silence is out, but I'm not sure if that really did a whole lot. Shy moves in, there's the Earthquake, we've been talking about that. Sanctification's on the ground, and Thrall is in a bit of trouble. Could always move back to the Fountain, doesn't do that just yet. Still poking, trying to trigger the Frostwolf Resilience once again for the heals. Jenna is whirlwinding through, not interrupted this time at all. 16 against 8 stacks, and still that Fountain is available to them. Not to mYinsanity though. mYinsanity, on the other hand, is currently in a position where they're trying to get access to the Shrine again, and I just don't see it happen. They're all so low. Not only hit points, but also mana. Tychus is zoning out Tassadar, forcing him into another dimensional shift. And we have 24 against 19. So Kitara is poking, but this time she went a bit too deep. A triple mosh pit. Their cleanse doesn't do anything. Vala is down. That's the only range damage dealer gone. Snows himself does not have the cooldown for Sanctab anymore. Yeah, Zarya with the ult here, in this case not even needed. But the slide of ETC finally to make sure that we are seeing Tyrael fall as well. 6 kills against 2, 19.5 versus 17. Nearly 18 in levels, and this is of course going to be another Punisher. They even want to time it properly with a camp here, so they go straight for the Khaldor camp. We were looking at the damage output, then especially Vala has so far not really been able to do a whole lot. That's one of the reasons why in this case maybe going for a bit more of a multi-shot focus would have helped them, because they could just poke from a safer distance and Vala get the extra damage in, get a couple of hatred stacks up, and then with punishment on 4 and level 16 force shot just simply poke away, try to get the minions and get the damage in too. The main damage output so far has been on Sonya. We've been talking a bit about the level 7 talent on Sonya as a compromise, since they are playing with 2 backliners, with 2 supports here. So trying to get some extra damage in with that. That has been working, but the problem is that they're just completely outdamaged by the opponent. Zarya alone on 50k, Thrall on 50k, and then you have still Tychus with 64, and they are starting to make a play for the keep here. They're of course going to try and see if they can maybe get a kill as well to continue and drop the core. They have the level 20 talent, but it looks like the Punisher is going to be defeated here. Heroics are also up, so we have Sanctification and the Twilight Dream. They're trying to go for Kitara. If Vala falls, that would be a disaster. Sank is down, and we see an immediate Twilight Dream being used as well. The Punisher baited into the middle and taken out. Odin is also gone, so they can take that fight, but they should not chase too much. It's 20 versus 18. That extra talent is going to wreck them if the red team turns it around. And there's the Earthquake. The Earthquake is there. They're trying to turn around against Jenna on her Sonya, and that's the end of that. Not sure if they can end yet, but this of course is a problem. And especially with the level 20 upgrade on the Earthquake, it is just absolutely insane in team fights, and that's what they showcase here. It's a quad mosh pit, and that should be the end. Vala is dead, Sonya already down. They're trying to go for another kill, but we already have a few of them working on the core. Tychus, on the other hand, finds himself in a bit of trouble, but gets a shield and is able to drop Tyrael regardless. Yeah, no counter kill there. Good heals once again by Auriel, and this should be the end of the match. GG already called, as mYinsanity basically accepts defeat here. Level 21 versus 18, 9 kills in the end against 2. And that is a 1-0 lead for CoB Misclick against mYinsanity at heroeslaunch.gg. Okay, everybody, we are in game number 2, and again, my apologies if the draft is a little bit shaky. It seems like the tool is currently a bit buggy, or there's some kind of delay, but it's not really refreshing instantaneously when there's a hero picked, so sometimes it just takes a while. So we're going to talk about the picks and the bans as they appear, but you can already see it's Cursed Hollow is our map. Teams running down the time pool a little bit. The Misclicks are in the lead right now, so they won the first map, they won an Infernal Shrines. mYinsanity in the end was actually just lacking a bit of the damage, I'd say. Not really having the poke from the backline was a bit of a problem for them, for sure, especially with the Vala build that they used there in the end. Not saying that was the only factor here, but it's just like the concept with having the pressure with Sonya didn't really work out the way that they intended there. I'm going to try and refresh that every now and then and see what we have. And it's Lost Vikings being banned. Okay, now that shocks me a little bit. I don't really think that's necessarily the most common ban. I'm wondering if they were able to just maybe scout misclicks out a little bit and saw that these guys are playing Vikings a lot. That could be a thing. Overall, the ban surprises me. Vikings, if so, but basically Vikings are very rarely played these days. Even on maps like Towers of Doom, where in the European scene at least Vikings were first banned or picked for a long time. They usually don't make an appearance anymore. On Cursed Hollow, I wouldn't have expected to see the Vikings banned out. I mean, yes, they can be a problem, but normally with all the globals that are being played these days, like Falstad having a Dehaka in there and all that stuff, I think that wasn't really to be expected. So we have another one of these refreshes that just like dropped 4 heroes on us, so let's go through that real quickly. So we have ban on Vikings, ETC is banned out by Misclick. And we have Muradin as a first pick and CoB Misclick starting with the Tychus Malfurion. Now, personally, I think that Muradin as a first pick is not really necessary these days anymore. For a long time, we had a situation in which you basically just tried to secure your warrior as fast as you could, especially around BlizzCon. In the earlier stage of BlizzCon, the fight over ETC and Muradin was pretty huge. Since then, teams have started to adapt a little bit more, and the priority has shifted away from the warriors and focused more towards damage dealers or healers. And especially with the rise of Johanna again into the meta, you don't normally see such a high priority on Muradin anymore. But mYinsanity, they just say, hey, ETC is banned out, we want to have one of the CC tanks here, so they still prioritize Muradin over the rest. They have the next double pick here, so they gave Tychus and Malfurion now up. But I wouldn't be surprised if they would now simply just say, okay, let's say we go into, we don't pick our, they can pick a Brightwing as a support right now, or they can risk it being banned out. But in terms of like damage output, having, for example, a Jaina, sorry, not a Jaina, a Li Ming in this setup would do really well. They already showed that they favor Vala in the last game too, so they could also just simply say, hey, let's go for that Vala again. But there's the Li Ming and the Thrall. I actually like that quite a bit. Li Ming is very good for the poke, so is Thrall. He has the Earthquake as well. We saw that in action on Infernal Shrines. Li Ming, as I said, is really good for like the backline poke. I would say they can in this case run, I would definitely say don't run a double support here. Go for the second damage dealer, then they can go for Vala. Brightwing is banned out though. As I said before, if they go for Brightwing, they could have, or if they wanted to go for Brightwing, they could have. If not, they risk Brightwing being banned out. That's exactly what happened. Misclick basically just like looked at the setup and said, okay, listen boys, we don't want to give them a global here. And for Misclick, that's all of a sudden putting an interesting scenario also in front of them, because they can still go for the Haka, they can still go for Falstad, so they have 2 global heroes that they could choose to play, but they decide against that and play now an Illidan focus composition with Tassadar and Malfurion to back him up. That is going to be interesting. Against Thrall with Earthquake and Muradin with his slows, that's going to make for a pretty interesting setup here, especially since mYinsanity can of course still pick their next 2 heroes. And one of them is going to be support, but they could also try to just simply get another hero in that counters Illidan to a certain extent. I mean, we're talking Sylvanas with a good silence, for example. Vala is not really an Illidan counter by any means, but she can apply quite a bit of pressure if they are again focusing on that single target build if he goes too deep. So this is really also about baiting or like punishing Illidan for what he does here, but I could have totally seen Misclick simply go into something along the lines of a Falstad or at least a Dehaka and try to at least have some global presence here. Maybe even an Abathar instead of Tassadar, that could also have worked for them. We've seen that a lot, that you have basically Abathar plus a support and then you have an Illidan composition in there. And Cursed Hollow, that would give you presence on the map when the objective is up, since you can counter-soak the opposite lane. And you would also make Illidan, of course, so much stronger. So that's definitely one of the approaches that they could have taken. They decide against it and play with Tassadar, who also gets value out of the Force Wall here if he executes it properly. Rhaegar now as the healer. Lightning Shield also on the side of Thrall, not too bad. And I'm really just waiting for the second damage dealer. Personally, I think they're going to go for Vala, since they already showed Vala in the last game, and it seemed to be a bit of a preference pick here. But there are other choices, like a Sylvanas. If you want to rely on the silence in this setup, you could do that. You have already a lot of poke damage with Li Ming, and Sylvanas is by no means a bad hero. Thrall, of course, can also like pressure put quite a bit of single target damage out there. But I would be very surprised. Okay, I'm very surprised. They go for the Haka, so they have now global presence, and I suppose if they sync it up properly, they can do a lot against Illidan here. The Dehaka, I mean, that can definitely work. It's not that I'm looking at the setup and say like, okay, this is horrible. You have, if you play it well and you really utilize Dehaka's global mobility, then you can get a lot of experience out of that. You have good wave play as well on him now with the Primal Aggression as a level 1 talent. They have the Drag, if they can get that properly into place, that would be fantastic for them. Thrall with a good Earthquake, as mentioned before. We have the Wolf that can lock Illidan in place. So Illidan will have to try and dodge a lot of the stuff that can be thrown against him with his Metamorphosis then later on as well, I feel. Li Ming needs to stay in the back line and really just like poke and do her work. But overall, Dehaka, Thrall, Muradin, it's a pretty frontline heavy setup, obviously, but that can work for them. Now, Johanna doesn't really shock as a tank. I mean, the only other one that you could have really suggested here is a Tyrael. Tyrael together with Illidan jumping in deep. I could have seen them go into Tyrael. We have with Tyrael shields, then Tassadar, Malfurion behind that. So if they would have said, okay, we're going to play a Tyrael here, I would have totally been okay with that too. He has the Holy Ground later on, which can completely interrupt an opponent's team setup. But in this case, they decided in favor of a Johanna, which is a little bit more tanky. So guys, mYinsanity versus CoB Misclick here at heroeslaunch.gg. Let's jump straight into game number 2. Ladies and gentlemen, game number 2. We're on the second map and it's Cursed Hollow. And right now we're looking to the left at the team in the lead. It's CoB Misclick with a Skyrunner on Tassadar, Toast mid-or on Johanna, Gwells on Malfurion, Shy on Tychus this time, and Tapion is playing Illidan. So a double support Illidan composition that is being played by the team in blue, whereas to the right side with our mYinsanity roster we are seeing Kitara on the range damage with Li Ming, we have Jenna on Thrall, Nefi on Rhaegar, you're seeing Nera on Dehaka right now, and Snowholmes at the front line with Muradin. We're definitely got to keep an eye out on Dehaka in particular. We need to find out if he is properly using that global ability to give them a bit of a lead here. In the setup that we're seeing, it's also interesting that we actually, well, we have in this case Third Wind taken. You could have made a couple of different choices here, especially if we want to go for the burst, but Third Wind, of course, will allow him to just move out of these fights after taking poke damage and then simply just moving back in again after a short while. We're seeing for Malfurion this time the Moonburn, and I like that talent actually quite a bit, so you have a bit more wave play on your hands and can get that extra damage in. Makes just Malfurion overall a little bit more useful. The teams on this map should of course attempt to simply go and get their camps roughly around 2 minutes when the Siege Giants spawn. We've been talking in the past a lot about how it can give you an advantage depending on where the Tribute spawns. Now, Tribute spawns are, of course, especially at the beginning, very random. And that's when you're trying to get an advantage out of that. Tapion on his Illidan is already eating a lot of damage up there. And, well, that was a bit too much damage. Illidan is down. The blue team got a bit greedy, trying to take one of the towers down, and apparently didn't see that rotation come properly. So we have, at the bot lane, Dehaka still playing this game against Skyrunner. Nera is one of the heroes that could always try and make a move up to the top lane or in the mid lane if they want to gank someone here. And talking ganks, we have Snowholmes and Nefi, so Muradin and Thrall currently just waiting here. Gwell should just simply Moonfire there a bit. Ah, they're jumping in. Ah, missing the Stormbolt. Shy is able to survive. Nefi is eating a lot of damage there. Snowholmes needed to hit that Stormbolt with his Muradin in order for them to take Tychus down. So that didn't really work out as intended. The problem is that the entire ammunition at the top lane is already lost, and that 3-lane push is still ongoing. Thrall again, a little bit too far out. Oh, sorry, it's Illidan. But there are no shots left on the 2 towers, and so he has no problem diving this deep since there's absolutely nothing the towers can really do to pressure him. Just regained a bit of ammunition, but that's already drained instantaneously once again. So that top lane is under a lot of pressure. And guess what? 2 minutes in, Illidan is starting to make his way over to the Siege Giant camp. Question is, of course, now if mYinsanity is going to do the same thing and try to take their own camp here. We have level 4 hit for both of the teams at roughly the same side. We are Power Hungry, by the way, taken into dominance. So, yeah, in this case, not going for the Seeker missiles here, but instead we're seeing a lot of like takedown based talents for now. Trying to get that extra sustain during the fights. Will to a certain extent also allow you to use Calamity a little bit more aggressively, trying to go into these fights. We're seeing the Hero Stalker taken, which I personally don't really know if that's like the right choice here for the Haka, since he has a solo lane more or less at the bottom. He's not really part of the rest of the rotation of the fights thus far. So if you are trying to sustain yourself through a solo lane, and then I personally think it's much better to go for the Essence for Essence, so that you have that just available to you whenever you go through. At the top lane, there's the fight. The Haka could move top if he wanted to, and could make his move there. And he is trying to go for the drag, missing Shy though, and that was a bit of a problem. But they still have a 5 versus 4 now in their favor. Good interrupt from Toast Midor. The Johanna with a shield flare, and Jenna is attempting again to get the channel through, and this time she's actually going to succeed. Cassidy was on his way to the top lane, but a bit too late to really help out there. So now they have to just rotate the rest of the team back down again. Thrall in this case also, we've been talking about the build last game, is going for a more normal build with Rolling Thunder into Ride the Lightning, so very likely that we're going to see follow through as the level 7 talent coming into play. The builds in this game so far are at least way more normal. Personally, I really think, with the exception of going into the Hero Stalker, I personally feel that talent is really only something that you should consider if you are playing a very aggressive style with your team. We sometimes see it, for example, on Sky Temple when you're playing together with, let's say, a Brightwing or a Zeratul on the map, and you're just trying to gank the entire time with the Haka. I think then you get a lot of value out of it. If you find yourself a lot on lane itself, trying to play on a solo lane, and get some sort of experience, and I personally believe it's better if you have the Essence from minions. Right now, with the level 7 talent being dropped for the two teams, the next tribute is up, and that's when we are going to see once again how this is going to work out up to the top lane. By the way, we've been talking about Illidan going for the Siege Giant camp. That didn't really work out for CoB Misclick, just simply because it's the tribute spawned top lane, so they didn't get the value that they were hoping for. In this case now though, with level 7 talent, also the Thirsting Blade taken after friend or foe, it's again a 5 versus 5, and Tassa is a bit late to the party. Is coming in now and can start with the pre-shielding, thanks to Carlos Abase. Nice move by Johanna, getting a 5-man condemn off. Nobody could really capitalize on that, but they might be able to get Snowhomes on his Muradin. Now he jumps out. Keep the third wind in mind though. Already kicking in, and he is getting his hit points back super fast. Good poke from both sides. We have Jenna, of course, with the Chain Lightning. Yeah, stun not hitting this time, but of course Leaving is still there. Muradin though goes down, and now it's time for the chase as Illidan is on the hunt and takes him down one by one. That's a big problem if you start losing fights with an Illidan against you, that he is just going to punish you. And that's where we have the Haka falling. So the isolation later for the Haka is also something that can, of course, help them against Illidan. Kitara here eating a lot of damage in that situation here as well. Illidan is definitely gaining a bit of momentum in this setup. Calamity has been taken on 7. We have follow through as expected. The Symbiosis also taken. And a normal build for Muradin now, attempting to simply go for the massive heals with the Thunder Burn, the healing static on 13, and attempting to get the cooldown reduction for the Thunderclap through the outer attacks with the Ironforge momentum to just make sure that he gets even more Thunderclaps out there. We still have the Cleanse though, and we have Color's Embrace, which is at least going to allow Tacita to get those pre-shields, and that will make it a lot easier for the teams to sustain themselves through the team fights. When it comes now to the rotations, we could still see potential ganks with Nera here on his Dehaka. Trying to push that bot lane currently. Skyrunner is just accepting that especially auto attack damage is nothing that he can really provide here. So yeah, that didn't really do too much for them. Yeah, a bit of a drag, but not able to get that into the range of the structures here. Level 10 is a bit too close for comfort. Personally, I really think they should let this one go. There's no way they can fight through this. They actually tried. I think that's a huge risk that they're taking at this point. There's level 10. They need to back off. That is going to be a disaster if they continue this. Unless they get a kill like this. Malfurion apparently hates his life. So Emo Malfurion dies. But the chase is still on. Level 10 is there. Malf down though, that's an issue. And now we have Snowhomes jumping out. Shy is there. But that was a massive misplay by Misclick. They had a huge lead going into that fight. Have now still the Odin up. But mYinsanity is still fighting, and I still don't understand why. I think they're gonna lose that fight anyways, especially with Malfurion being back. The only thing that Misclick have to do is to poke a little bit, and that's exactly what they do. But Skyrunner shouldn't really take those hits like he currently does. So if Nera gets another good drag off, they have a chance of actually getting another kill before Malf is back. Malf back to business now, has the Twilight Dream. They're all very low though, so they got poked a bit, but this is starting to be a bit of a chase. No, missing Stormbolt in the back. Burrow already used. Silence there, not timed properly, but still the Haka dying. And this is now 10 versus 10 as we have heroic abilities picked up by mYinsanity. Jenna waiting for the potential earthquake here on the Thrall. Starting to move in again. Guitarra already with the disintegrate. Snowholmes with the interrupt against Malfurion, who's starting to be really low. And here comes the earthquake and the engagement, but not really hitting properly. Snowholmes with the avatar, trying to go for it, activating it a bit early, but we have everyone else so low. But here comes Nera again. The Haka dying means, of course, that once he's back, he can simply burrow in, and they win the tribute. Wow! Now talking about a fight that should never have happened. So mYinsanity actually playing a very, very greedy, and yeah, they should have been punished for this. That they win it is a bit crazy, and it was mainly because Wells was slightly out of position there and got jumped. The Haka able to drag him in, and then they got an early kill. So this is one of those moments where mYsclick is probably not going to be happy about how that went. That should have been their tribute in one fight, but in the end they actually lose the tribute, and their opponent is closing in on experience. So they need to be a little bit more cautious, especially with the positioning on Malfurion, considering that he has not only the Johanna, but also the Illidan in front of him. That tribute over here is going to be very important now for the blue team, since they have to win this one unless they want to get cursed. And, well, let's face it, nobody wants to get cursed. So, again, the Haka in there, unstoppable, already used, so the Iron Skin is out, and an early Odin being used, trying to pressure them away. Push them away for now. They're jumping Muradin over here. So far, so good. Again, Johanna in the middle of things. Earthquake used. Jenna's trying to force the fight here, but the tribute has been picked up, and Shy is getting a lot of damage in. Metamorphosis is being used. Good heals on Snowholmes, but the Haka is using his Essence and will most likely fall here. The Haka about to die, everybody else on the retreat. Guitarra, of course, attempting to just get some extra damage in on the way back with Liming. But that's another kill against mYinsanity and a tribute taken by mYsclick. Currently in the mid lane, the camp that has been taken before by mYsclick did actually a fair amount of work. Not only draining a lot of the shots here, but also going through some of the structures, providing more experience for them. So it's nearly a 1.5 level lead they currently have. So overall, mYsclick is doing fairly well here. And they actually decided to go for boss, which is also a bit of an aggressive move, because right now they don't really have a lead, but they have vision of at least Muradin in the mid lane. And Snowholmes at this case, they basically know that there is a play for boss, so they're just saying, hey, we can take our own boss. Double root. Nefi is also eating a lot of damage here from the boss, and the rotation is actually starting to happen. Snowholmes is trying to delay them a little bit. He's now jumping in, but they need to make that happen fast, because they are running out of time. 13 talents are there, they just barely get the boss, but they are so low already, and it looks like Muradin is gonna fall. Uses that avatar very late and dies anyway, so that's a minute cooldown that he will still have once that he is back. So that's an easy curse against mYinsanity now. The boss is going to do some work, but they're taking another camp here in the meantime. Going to time that properly with the curse, and now it's time to defend, and that's when Era comes into play again with his level 1 talent with the primal aggression. The problem is that he's being jumped here, and yeah, there's no escape. You are dead. I'm sorry. There's no way. Jenna should really back out of this one. She cannot save him. There's absolutely no chance. 6 kills against 2. Level 13 talents with a burning rage. We have also the ice block. So Malfurion learning basically from that earlier death and saying, okay, if that happens again, I need something that can keep me alive until the rest of the team gets me out of that mess. Top lane Ford is still going to be hammered into the ground by the boss, so that's at least something that we get. But I like the decision of the blue team after the kill against the Haka to just completely abandon the fort and go for a keep. They get max value out of this curse because they know that the fort is going to fall anyways, so it's not going to block their way of retreat. And if this is a kill, that would be great for them. Earthquake being used, that could turn around against the blue team. 13 talents is still not there. We have a drag on Johanna, but she still has the Iron Skin and can use it to escape here. Jenna is trying to go deep and locks down Tassadar, but can't confirm the kill. The Prescience kicks in there, trying to hammer them down with a few chain lightnings and get the kill against Tassadar. The problem is that the bot lane is still pushing heavily against them, but they want to have the team fight, and they drag Malfurion in there. That's exactly what they need. That ice block is only going to delay the inevitable. A good double kill for them, but they are far behind, and this keep is nearly gone. So they lost the keep in the mid lane, and we have a keep at the bot lane nearly taken down. Thrall is starting to move in. Snowholmes should probably make his way over a little bit faster towards the keep. Like, dude, 2 shots and this thing is a goner. But the wave comes in. Guitarra is there now too, can use the Calamity, and they're going to be able to push that back. The issue for them still is that they lost that keep in the mid lane. And also, of course, they lost a fair amount of experience thanks to that. We are seeing right now Giant Killer, Tidal Waves taken. We have the Swift Pursuit on the side of the Haka. But even more important is that level 16 talents are ready for their opponent. And that is where we have the Titan Grenade, which alone, especially, of course, against someone like Muradin, is fantastic. The Marked for Death, caps taken all over the place. And yeah, the 2 kills that they got a bit earlier were definitely nice, but they need to kind of repeat that if they really want to have a chance here. And doing that without the level 16 talent is going to be very rough. So they have to play pretty passive here. One of the saving graces for them is that their bosses are still down for another 2 minutes. And they also can let tributes go. Like, this is one of those moments when you can simply try and sit back, but it will cost you a keep if you do, because the only thing that's really needed here is Odin being popped, a grenade thrown in, and they just crash it. They have level 16 against 14, and yep, there's the grenade, the keep is down, and therefore they just retreat again. So right now, there's nothing to gain here anymore. You've lost your keep already. The only thing that you can really do is try and use the Haka to get experience, soak that 16, give a tribute up, and then that's totally fine. Again, like this tribute, why fight for it? There's absolutely zero reason. Your opponent doesn't have a tribute right now, so you can let 2 go. Oh, close call. And you just soak. You fight for 1 later on. There's a minute 20 on the bosses. There's absolutely no reason to move out right now. Soak for another 30, 40 seconds. Get level 16 and make a play on 16. You have to defend though. That's definitely a thing that you can't simply let go. So in this case, you have to make the defense, poke as much as you can. Try to go in, but just don't overstep your ground. Don't move out, don't get locked down, but make sure that you save that keep. So right now they're just like poking away, Snowhomes at the front, and he needs to be very careful. Cleanse is in, so he got cleansed for now, but there's just a sliver of experience that is really left here that they still need. Stomple is a bit wasted on the Siege Giants here, but they are about to get that talent, and that's really when they want to make their stand. Keep in mind, if they win a tribute fight right now, if they get 16 and they win a tribute fight, it would automatically lead to a curse against the opponent. They're not out of this, by no means. If you win a fight over the next tribute and you kill 2-3 members, you get a curse, you get a boss, and all of a sudden you have the momentum, even though you lost 2 keeps. So you will have a lot of momentum. The question is just how much do you get done with it. But there is definitely a play available right now for the game. You need to get the tribute, you curse your opponent, you get boss, and you push it in hard. And it looks for now like, are they actually going to give that up? So it's a bit surprising that they're willing to completely let it go. I guess they're afraid because the positioning of the opponent is so much better, because they set it up earlier. Still walking into that, like, I don't get what they're doing here. That makes no sense. Jump, Muradin! Jump, little dwarf, jump! Hit, clap! Okay, so they save him. The question is, are they going to chase down? Illidan is going to chase them hard right now. They need to move out of this. I'm a bit surprised that they went in like it. That didn't make a lot of sense. That was not really thought out here. Okay, they might still win it. There's the drag. He goes down. mYinsanity is winning fights that they shouldn't fight and that they shouldn't win, but they do it. So I guess they're not going to argue about that. The interesting part about this fight is that once that you actually say we let the tribute go, there's no reason for you to move in there. I mean, think about it. They basically say our opponent already have set up a position there. Funneling through those choke points is not going to do anything for us, so let's just let it go and move back. And then they move in with 2 people anyways, as the tribute is already completed and they can't contest it anymore, and go straight into the trap that was set up. And then they still win the fight. That's the mind-blowing part here. The Haka needs to burrow in right now. He needs to burrow in. I'm not sure if he's on cooldown, but if he isn't, that burrow could have basically guaranteed them another kill. So they need to fight for the tribute up at the top now. There would be another curse against them. The Haka is already there. They're making their move. Cooldowns are ready. They have Isolation, they have Earthquake. They don't have everything, but Muradin will have his own cooldown ready in a few more seconds too. If they can get a kill here, that would be fantastic. They are still totally in this. They just need to get that curse. Yeah, once again, there's the Earthquake. They should go for the Isolation with the Haka. I'm not agreeing with him channeling right now. He should fight here. Again, the interrupt, but Tychus is dead anyways. Now he goes in, Isolation being used against Illidan. That's a great hit, that's what they needed. Gets the drag on Malfurion. Guess who's in trouble? Yep, it's the old geezer. 10,000 years of experience, and he's still screwing up. Yeah, Toast mid or also being attacked now. Double kill against them. That's a curse. That should be a boss. They're trying to get another kill out of this. And if they get a... they drag nearly against Tacita, but they can't complete it. So now the curse, that's going to help to deep push the lanes. They need to go for it. They need to at least drop a keep at this point. Misclicks is actually misplaying this hard right now, and they are losing confidence, you can tell. So this is the goal for the fort. They need to get more than that. It's another 30 seconds until Malfurion is back. Go through that wall, break it. Nera is going back. I'm not quite sure why even. Like, that's not going to do anything. You don't have to deep push here, so I'm not 100% certain why he's going back in the first place. He still had enough mana. Do they try and just get experience? They should at least make a play for bot. I would have actually liked them to... either you push through completely or you go back right after you get the fort and go for boss. Him going for the deep push doesn't make a lot of sense because they had the curse against their opponent anyways. So with that, they should have been, like, they knew the catapults wouldn't really do a whole lot. Now it's going to be a trade, boss for boss. And there's one big difference. This boss is going to go for a core. This one is going to go for a key. So they have the Haka at the bottom here. He already scouts out the situation. They need to rotate heroes down if they really want to contest this and need to do it fast. I don't like it. There's no mana on Thrall. There's nearly no mana on Rhaegar. They cannot go in here. Guys, like, that is really risky. They should have contested this way sooner. Look at the mana. They don't have mana. The drag doesn't hit anything here. Nephi on the way back. Thrall is now starting to jump in, but Misclick are going to try and end the game with this. They are going to try and end the game. This boss is going to get a lot of value at the bot lane. There's no doubt about it, but still, there's going to be a play for game right now, and I really think they could have done more with the curse. Get the fort in the mid lane, and then they're making the decision. Are you going to go for the keep or not? And I personally would have just said, get both bosses. Move in and get both of them. Now they have a flank setup. They're trying to go in behind the boss here. The root is on the ground. The boss is going to go for the core. And there's the silence. Nice. And disintegrate being used. Yes, but they're starting to move back. Snowholmes is in a bit of trouble. Boss is already on the core. They need to win the fight and need to win it big time. Snowholmes, he has no mana. They fight without mana here. And now it's just a complete chase against them. They lost Thrall. They're about to lose now also their Haka. Again, a force wall on the ground. Their Haka eliminated. And this is going to be a 2-0 victory for Misclick. Misclick take it, both teams with a 20, but that's game. Cursed Hollow ends in favor of CoB Misclick as they complete the 2-0 victory against mYinsanity.